Let's go to Shima Oliai, the producer of the podcast Dolly Parton's America. Shima, really good to have you. So this is a 9-part series, and you were trying to answer the question, just what is Dolly Parton's America? What is it?
Well, I think, I was listening to everything you guys were saying about her incredible legacy. And I think that the heart of it is everything she did came from a spiritual standpoint. She really thought about how her work would impact everyone she came into contact with. So even the way she ran her business, she was never not on time. She was, always cognizant of everyone else that her life was impacting or who was orbiting around her. She was orbiting around them. The way that she wrote music, she told me in an interview that she would wake up often at 2 a.m. in the morning to pray about what she needed to transmit to others. And then she would songwrite. A lot of those sessions, like very famously, she wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same night. And yeah, I don't know, just even being around her when she would enter like a dinner place where there were many people and many guests, she was very aware of everyone. And I just think that it was, again, her spiritual stance. She never cast anyone out. And she was welcoming to all. And I think that she had a very big heart for the poor. Her father was a farmer. He never learned how to read, which is what led her to creating the Imagination Library, which has gifted, I think, over 300,000 books around the world. And yeah, I can't emphasize enough that I do feel like the way she saw how to treat people, that was communicated in everything she touched, whether it was business or whether it was music or whether it was her movies. Yeah. And you would see it in everyday life from moment to moment. So I learned a lot from working with her.
Have you ever heard anyone say anything bad about her? Who knows her?
No, I mean, no. I think, she's really good at ribbing others, so they rib back. Usually they rib first. So, when she was coming up in a very like male dominated country music industry. So, people would crack jokes and, her famous mentor, Porter Wagner, he would tease her a bunch live on the show. And I think she learned how to like kind of punch back verbally and probably physically. Like she learned how to deal with every kind of personality. And yeah, people teased her. I mean, think about the late night circuit, the 90s, everyone teased her about her boobs. So she just said the joke first and she said it better than the comedians could. I think in that way, she has provided a lot of like inspiration for people who have felt bullied or othered or felt like too much. She was like, I'm going to be too much. And I'm going to say, I love being too much. And that was my point, was to be too much of everything, So, I think even the people that had something negative to say over the years, they all changed their tune over time. And I think, again, that's because of how she lived her life.
So the host of your podcast is Jad Abumrad, who, by the way, huge fan of, especially from Radiolab, and obviously somebody who loves music and who loves sound. He said in the podcast that Dolly was so intoxicating to be around that there were points during the interviews that he would be telling himself, ask a question, ask a question, ask a question, but he just couldn't form the words.
Yes. So actually, that is his first interview. Because of how mesmerizing Dolly is, that might have made my entire career, because the first interview he went to solo into her recording studio, and I had written all the questions. He read them to her, with the setup. And then he came back. I listened and I was like, what happened? You didn't even get like 2 questions. She does her like Tennessee mountain trance. She just starts speaking, and then you kind of can't stop listening. And also the way she speaks is very musical. Like she's Like it's all over, like she's doing scales. And so and the stories are intoxicating. These are also stories that she's told for years and years and years. So then, I had actually seen her live during the fall of 2016 during that election year. And she had done like a national tour while there was a lot of like red, blue kind of arguments in the country. And she just talked about her people at these concerts. And like, she was like a little fairy goddess on stage playing her little sax and like I think over 12 instruments in one evening. And anyway, I was able to go to the second interview. That one was much longer. It was about 4 or 5 hours. And then for that, we had done, I mean, I tried to find every kind of piece of archival. I think I know more about Dolly Parton than any human on this planet at this point, that we were able to kind of shock her. We would bring things that she probably hasn't seen for 40 years, and we would play them for her live. And then, I think she was not aware about how much we had done our homework, like, cause it was her friends, sons, and then producer coming to like just sit down again. And she had already done her whole, Tennessee dance the first time. But the second interview, I told the host, I'm like, if she doesn't cry at least once, we don't have a show. So we have to find a way to like get through to what is underneath. And it was the best interview of my life. It was just the things that were shared. Some things have never been aired at this point. It just, she was very open, and I was kind of bad cop. I had, written up like a 4-hour kind of trajectory, but I would be quiet on the side, and then I would jump in and be like, and say what I need to say. And sometimes we would just follow different. We just had to get her off of her very professional MO. And it worked. Yeah. And after that, we knew we had a series. It was an incredible, it was an out of body experience. And it was one of the best memories of my entire career. She was amazing.
I wonder what she was like in private, without the makeup and the hair. Do you have a sense of what she might have been like just alone with her husband? Yeah,
I mean, she says publicly that she never takes off that makeup, even just in case there's like a fire alarm and she has to meet fans in the streets. She wants to be ready. She's just a very loving person. She's very simple, not in like a small sense, just, the foundation, like, have you gotten enough to eat? Have you slept? She didn't sleep a lot. I will say that. I did envy her ability to like just do so much on very little sleep. But I think she was very tender. She was very loving. She's very flirty. That is not an act. She's vivacious. And I think she's just very centered in who she is. I think that she spent like every day of her life in prayer every morning. And I think over time, I think that makes you very centered in who you are. But I think she loved everyone around her. I kind of see her as Santa Claus. I don't know, that's kind of silly. She called herself Santa Claus once in a while, but everyone was her child. All people. I think she saw all people as her children, or she tried to behave in a way as a parent or teacher or leader should to everyone. And I would say she would try to do right by people, including her husband, including her family, everyone in her family and her friends and people that she worked with on a day-to-day basis. She really tried to do right by people. But yeah, I think you see her, she's fun. She's really fun to be around, and she's kind of no nonsense. And when she sees nonsense, she calls it out.
This podcast is so good, apparently, that Forbes, Joshua Dudley of Forbes, has nominated it as Best Podcast for the year of 2019. So everyone go out and watch it, consume it if you have not already. Shima, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the memories.
Thank you for having me, and wishing everyone the best.